Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we are from group Falcon, and today we're going to present our group assignment, which is topic sexual harassment. So this is our group members. Start with myself, Nurul Asha binti Azhar, and my other members, Siti Nursyada binti Nordin, Fisaan Al-Aki Aiblim, Khairul Nazri bin Eri, and last one is Wan Arif Ashraf bin Wan Abdul Rahman. So we're gonna start with executive summary. Okay, so there are several acts in sexual harassment, such as the Employment Act of 1955, Industrial Relations Act of 1967, and Communication Multimedia Act of 1998. So all these acts all prohibit the verbal and non-verbal sexual harassment. So in the 1980s, sexual harassment was classified as a serious offense in the Western world. So sexual harassment actually is one example of discrimination, and sexual harassment can be categorized in several types, including physical, verbal, visual, non-visual, and psychological. So in today's modern age, sexual harassment also happen in online as well, such as sending sexual photos, videos, or message, stealing a person's identity, and engaging them in sexual issues, and threatening and forcing a person to share sexual content. So the effects can be physical, emotional, or psychological. So every individual who has been involved or who has not yet needed to know how to defend themselves. And first is always aware of their own right. Second is aware of the situation that lead to sexual harassment. So we move on to the case summary. So okay, for case summary, start with Kirkin, 26 years old girl who tried to find a job to make money for her living. So she started working with a man who she called as her boss, and that married man hired her to become dance coach at his dance studio. So okay then, Kirkin began to notice something strange about her boss' behavior and manner of conversation when he set unreasonable conditions for pioneering instructors, where he only wanted female instructors who are between the age of 18 and 25. So she feel more weird when her boss tell her that she should keep every meeting WhatsApp conversation between them private, and he instruct her to always be alone in the room when she communicates with him. So next is call master and dog slave. So that man told her that it was rude that she had been calling him only by name, and asked her to show him more respect by calling him master, and Kirkin must call herself dog slave. So Kirkin also need to say that I am the man dogs and I must 100% listen to the man. So she must repeat that as many as 12 times a day for 12 weeks. So he said that this process is important so that Kirkin have right mindset to success. And also her boss also requested that Kirkin always keep him updated on what she was doing, including sleeping, eating, and bathing. So Kirkin began to draw a line and told the man that all of that was her private business. So next she started seeking for advice from her friends. So Kirkin boss also suggested that she serve him and be ready to make friends, and she be willing to give her body because her boss was given her a bright future. So Kirkin remained silent and began seeking advice from a friend when she became concerned that her boss was becoming increasingly harsh. So the last one is collecting evidence. So she started collecting evidence that she have, such as WhatsApp conversation, recorded video call, and voice call. So she will use all of that as evidence when she going to make a police report. She was certain that her boss was engaging in sexual harassment. Her boss also said that Her soul, mind, and body are 100% owned by her boss.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Wan Ari Ashraf Dewa Abdul Rahman. My metric number is 269686. I will continue to present about ethical awareness. Ethical awareness is a awareness and ability to designate moral situation and dilemmas, critically analyze, evaluate, and additionally change one's own moral esteem and look at the effect of one's own attitude for the life of others. All sides of enterprise must be conscious of the ethical implication of their way of action. Ethical awareness begins with watchful thinking to guarantee an enterprise activities are morally right. A person is ethically aware if he or she realizes that a problem he or she experiences is corporate and ethical problem. A person can make right and moral decision only if that person is aware of a ethical problem. Additionally, that the person can identify the potential effect of the problem on the benefit desire and welfare of all related parties. Most of people think ethically is it personal reward. However, an enterprise likely cause some monetary motivation to unethical behavior may spoil the position, reputation, and relation of an employee. Moreover, it may damage an enterprise image, which will end up with losing current and potential customer. Endorsing ethical awareness among employees stop issue from developing in any way.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. I'm Karun Nazri Biniri, metric card number 269927. I will presenting next part, which is ethical reasoning. Ethical reasoning is the process of asserting multiple ethical justifications. Ethical reasoning is used to evaluate human conduct. It performs two functions in one's life. It emphasizes that enhancing the well-being of others will bring benefits and can also increase one's own happiness. Variations in individual perceptions of a subject or event, as well as those based on political and religious beliefs, are widespread. For example, Kerchen is a dancer working in a studio owned by a man who has sexually assaulted her in the past. Kerchen was initially approached by the man who offered him a position as a studio manager. But after a short period of time, the man took advantage of Kerchen, who was working under him at the time of the initial approach. Among the acts of sexual harassment committed was a man harassing Kerchen by making indecent phone calls to her and uttering some dirty words to her. These man's actions are clearly unethical conduct. Although Kerchen worked with the man, she knew that the man had sexually abused her. The man does not respect Kerchen and took advantage on Kerchen. According to Malaysian law, it clearly defines that this man's action is sexual harassment, and the man was arrested for committing the sexual harassment. Despite realizing the consequences she would have if she reported to the police, she went ahead and did so on the recommendation of his close friend. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Sitina Syuhada binti Nordin. My metric number 272329. I will continue the presentation by presenting the appropriate ethical suggestion made for this case. An ethical suggestion can be defined as how we can enhance a problem by making alteration and recommendation to its ethical issues or dilemmas. First, our suggestions for solving this ethical dilemma in this circumstance is to use a sexual harassment campaign to educate and aware the community about the existence of sexual harassment law that can help to protect the victims, especially at workplace. The Employees Act 1955 contains provisions relating to sexual harassment at workplace in Malaysia. The presence of a campaign like sexual harassment awareness is an indication of an action that should be taken to raise public awareness. People can learn about the rising number of occurrence of sexual harassment through this campaign and take precaution as a result. Other than that, through this campaign, community can adopt various kinds of informations related to the sexual harassment. Next is victims are encouraged to report the incidents to authorities as soon as possible. Why do we suggest this? This is due to the fact that most victims are reluctant to stand up because they are scared and ashamed. This kind of attitude leads to the increment of sexual harassment cases because an abuser are more daring since they know the victims will not speak up about things that happen to them. The responsible party can take an action against the abuser if the victims make the report. Last but not least, the government must take this issue seriously and take an appropriate actions against the sexual harassment abuser by establishing explicit legislation addressing the subject of sexual harassment so that offences can be dealt with under clearer legal rules rather than through boarding or other means. Finally, all parties must collaborate to prevent the spread of such unethical acts, particularly at the workplace. I think that's all from me. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Bisa Ananhaki Ablam and my matrix number is 273147, and today I'm going to present about the ethical decision making. So first of all, let me introduce a simple introduction regarding the ethical decision making. Alright everyone, what is the meaning of ethical decision making? It is related to the procedures of analyzing and determining between options while adhering with the ethical standard. When confronted with ethical dilemma, it is very important for us to recognize and exclude the unethical options before selecting the most ethical decisions. It is to establish and manage the relationship, show tolerance, accountabilities, impartialities, as well as sympathies. Alright everyone, let's move on to the second slide. Based on the previous discussion regarding the ethical suggestions, so our group have decided to choose the best solution that will overcome the sexual harassment at workplace is, first, by implementing a sexual harassment awareness to the employee at the workplace. This is because by conducting a sexual harassment awareness, it will help to reduce the cases of harassment at workplace. Besides that, the management teams of the company can also implement a harassment trainings by creating a policies or a standard of professional ethics for the employees. It is because the more people who know the standard they expect in the workplace, the less likely they are to experience harassment or ignorant behavior. Besides that, by implementing a sexual harassment awareness, it also will help the employees to be more understanding about the sexual harassment and why it is very important to support it, especially to the workers and the community itself. Alright everyone, as you can see on the slide, it's stated that the estimated proportions and the numbers of women worldwide aged 18 years and older who have experienced in sexual or physical violence and also sexual harassment around 2015. So, there are 35% or around 930 million women who have experienced in sexual or physical violence. However, there are 75% or around 2 billion women who have experienced in sexual harassment. Thus, according to a study by Women Aid Organization (WAO), Voices of Malaysian Women on Discriminations and Harassment Workplace, it stated that there are more than 50% of the women surveyed said that they have experienced at least one form of sexual harassment at work. This can be included by receiving a comments or a questions about their marital status or family planning plans, transfers to promotions instead of helping less trained colleagues, and also by taking on tasks such as making coffee and preparing drinks for a male partners without being asked. By referring to the behavior above, it can be related to coercive power theories, which is the capabilities of a manager to enforce an employee to follow the instruction by threatening to impose a fine if the employee does not follow the instruction. It is to assist their own self-interest, especially in sexual interest. And next, our group have decided to choose the second best solutions where it can help to reduce the sexual harassment activities at the workplace, which is the victims itself should take an appropriate actions where it can report the problem to the local police or the organizations. This is because if the sexual harassment violates public security law, then the victim can apply to the police for administrative sanctions, including fines as well as imprisonment. However, when the company management retaliates against harasser, then the victims of the sexual harassment can file a proceeding in court and consider harasser and also the companies as the co-defendants demand that the plaintiff end the harassment and compensate for the financial loss. According to the solutions, we can state that a categorical imperative under the second versions can be applied by local police as well as the top management. It is because, based on the theories, it stated that it is equivalent to the first formulations, where the management should treat all the employees equally. So, the top management should be fairness when blaming or punishing their employees when there are sexual harassment activities at the workplace. Besides that, the local police also should take serious actions about the problem that reported by the victims. As a conclusion, the workplace is always a safe place and people should accept who they are. By maintaining a culture of equalities and happiness can be carried out by the organization management teams. So, by producing a workers aware of sexual harassment, thus employers may be able to avoid the liabilities for workers' harassment as well as the discrimination. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, so the first conclusion is victims need to identify the characteristic of sexual harassment as soon as possible. Victims must understand that sexual harassment will put them in a position of discomfort, fear, or threat as a result of the perpetrator's behavior. So next is not always victims' fault for failing to consider the perpetrator's intentions. So our society, they already have this mindset that when there is sexual harassment, it is always victim's fault. So actually this is something that we should change. For example, as we can see, Kirkian as the victims of sexual harassment, she just do nothing and just want to seeking for a job, and still she became one of the sexual harassment victims. So the last one is every victim should be courageous and have the right to defend themselves. So nobody deserves to be in this kind of situation. So victims should understand that action they need to take and who they need to report to. So the next one is lessons. Okay, first lessons, employee and boss must understand the company's code of conduct, discipline and professionalism in deeds and speech. So for Kekian case, her boss was inappropriate phone calls to her and was unprofessional. Her boss refers to her as a slave and bitch, and these words have also resulted in instances of sexual harassment. So second is always aware of our rights and limitation at work. So if our co-workers or bosses are found to be overacting when speaking or acting, don't be afraid to say no to them. So Kekian should have refused the boss request to report every detail of her activities. So she should have been aware from the start when her boss became involved in her personal matter. And the last one is train yourself to take notes and keep records. So record details such as date, time, conversation, behavior, location to be used as evidence if necessary. So Kekian action is very precise as she keeps every communication between her and her boss through WhatsApp, as well as records of their meeting as evidence to file a police report. So this action will be strengthen her report even more, and any appropriate action against her boss can be taken. So that's all from our group Falcon. So thank you.